The face of the American workforce is changing. The Northwest Hennepin region in Minnesota is home to an increasingly diverse workforce. Recent 2010 census data revealed that Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center are now the most diverse cities in Minnesota. This diversity presents many opportunities for the workforce, as the state is home to many highly skilled immigrants.
Because the wave of population as we go into the 21st, 22nd century, the dominant population is going to change, and employers have to be ready for the big wave of changes that are coming. Especially if the minority population becomes the dominant population.
We're going to continue to become more and more diverse in our culture. We already are. And I don't think we've caught up with it yet. We haven't. And I feel like we're kind of behind, like we're trying to play catch up and, get to the point where we need to be.
Part of the reason for this change is that Minnesota's population is aging. More and more older adults are no longer of working age. As they leave the labor force, the need for new workers becomes imperative. Immigrants and refugees stand ready to fill this gap. And as a result, they have accounted for a majority of the growth in the labor force both in Minnesota and nationally. In fact, if immigrants were removed from the labor force, Minnesota would lose over 24,000 permanent jobs and $1.2 billion in personal income.
Most immigrants that I know, especially people from my culture, it's not that these people are not skilled. They are very skilled. Most of them are very skilled.
Well, I was a medical doctor. I graduated from school in 2004, started worked from 2004 to 6 until before we moved here.
My parents were by no means lazy. They were hardworking people. In fact, even though they came from educated backgrounds, they just started working in factories right away. And to this day, that's what they do.
I had 2 or 3 of my classmates from medical school back home who are living in different other states, and they didn't get the chance that I got here, which is the grant from the state to study and to get back to medicine. And for that reason, one of them is now he's working as a McDonald's, if you can imagine that. The other one is a taxi driver.
We've hired a number of immigrants that have come to our workplace, and they have come to us highly skilled. And basically they just needed an opportunity, and just like anybody else.
Well, the skills are there, and not only that the skills are there, but we also bring the diversity. In a community that is growing pretty diverse, I think highly qualified people from elsewhere should be looked at twice before they get the application rejected or something.
Yet despite the need for skilled workers, there are a variety of barriers that make it difficult for immigrants to find work. And new immigrants have the hardest time of all.
I know some of the doctors that have actually gone to the University of Minnesota and got their master's in public health. And many of them have not gotten jobs.
It hasn't been easy, and I know that before I came here. I know that being from a country where English is not spoken at all to here, it was not going to be easy.
After a few years, I realized that my qualification was not recognized. My colleague who did not have qualification like me was making more money. And I found the barriers like not given enough training. End of the year, I get performance evaluation, and then I was not doing enough work. In fact, I was working very hard, sometimes 6 days a week.
There were great people working hard, passed the exams, and just cannot get into residency, sometimes because they're a little older, sometimes because they've been out of school for a few years. I had one experience in the past that when I was looking for a job as a nursing assistant, my name, just to pronounce my name, was a problem because people had trouble saying my name, and that was a reason why it would be difficult for me. It was difficult for me to get a job.
One of the things that he found that they needed more skills in was speed in typing, and because in our countries we don't have the same technology. Technology is not as high as you have here.
Technology linked to medical practice here, including, everything is high technology, and we don't have that.
Fear on the part of our people, fear of being called failure, fear of failing, fear of not understanding you, language barrier. All of these challenges pose some dent between the employers and the prospective employee.
Another common problem is that oftentimes the credentials and educational experiences of immigrants in their home country do not transfer directly into the U.S. system. Some of the common employment fields that are difficult for credential transfers include accounting, architecture, law, libraries, medical, social work, and counseling. Due to these challenges, professionally trained immigrants are often forced to find lower wage, low-skilled work, and then go back to school for relicensure in their field of training in order to find employment that matches their educational training. But the skills are there, along with many other natural cultural values that make immigrants valuable employees.
They have exceptional skills. They are resilient. Many of them have been through refugee camps, and the fact that they're even here in America and even wanting to work is amazing. So they will probably, once they get jobs, they will put their whole heart in doing the best they can.
Asian Indian population is very hardworking. We believe in family values, and we don't believe in taking any money from the state. So people work hard to find a job.
The more people are very hardworking people, because they used to live in difficult situation in the mountains of Laos. They work very hard. They get up at 4:30 in the morning, at the first crow of the rooster.
When you are an immigrant or you are already here, failure is not, you cannot pay that much money to come here to fail. You are here to succeed at all costs. Whatever you do, you want to have quality return. That is our determination.
I think another good thing that employers should look at is the fact that they're going to get people with additional skills. For instance, language skills, and also cultural skills. So this person could even provide some cultural competency training within the agency about how to work with people from their culture.
One of the things that I found when we have more of a diverse workforce, it actually opens up people's thinking, and they start thinking outside of the box, because it's not just our standard, this is how we've always done it, this is the answer we've always come up with. But when you have a diverse workforce, it opens people's minds, and you come up with better ideas, different ways of thinking of things, different ways of coming up with solutions to problems. It's just a win-win.
Overall, the investment is worth it. Immigrants' economic contributions have the potential to increase over time as they gain experience and earn higher wages. Such increases translate into needed tax payments and consumer spending.
Some concerns that employers may have with hiring a diverse workforce, including immigrants, are fear. I think it's just having the fear of the unknown, the fear of, have I not done this before? What kind of challenges and hurdles am I going to face? And then how do I deal with that?
Knowing your customer, your client, is extremely important. And I don't think you can do that until you jump in and learn about another group or a different culture and how that can change your business, or in our case, the police department, in such a positive way.
The advice I would give employers about working with immigrants is that they really should give immigrants and qualified immigrants and refugees a chance. Because if they bring them in, if they need additional training to adjust in the U.S. Culture, it's very easy to do. It takes a short time because we all learn very quickly.
There's a lot of stereotypes about immigrants and bringing them into your workforce, and I think we can actually help show that change and help minimize and get rid of those stereotypes and show people that this can be successful, and that together, when we come together as a community strong, all of our differences together, that is how we are going to make a difference and how we're going to build stronger businesses and stronger communities, and it's going to have an overall effect in a positive way for everyone. Really, you have to change your thinking and change your whole recruiting processes, and maybe take a look at what those recruiting processes are, and how are you going to be able to reach out to the immigrant community.
I think you need to be patient as an employer. Your methods that you may have used, as Brian said, with respect to the hiring practices and things of that nature, that may need to be a little bit different.
Well, one of the things is to recruit immigrants, you have to advertise your jobs in the places where these people go, like Rainbow, Cup Food, those Oriental stores, or even churches. Send your job openings to some of the high schools. They do provide internships.
If you are reaching out to a multicultural community, it's helpful to be able to go to many of the multicultural news outlets, whether it be the radio, maybe it's TV, maybe it's a multicultural newspaper that goes out on a quarterly basis.
In the past, when it came to hiring people for our open positions, it may have been that I reached out to a certain employment agency because we've used them in the past. That's how we've always done it. And now, basically, what we do is we reach across all kinds of, cultural lines and different agencies that we use to actually help us so that we can actually get into those immigrant communities and make them aware of the openings that we have within our company so that they have the opportunity to apply just like anybody else does.
Working with other agencies in the community can also be very important. One such organization is the Healthy Together Northwest Network. They seek to collaboratively find solutions to the barriers that immigrants face and foster cross-cultural and cross-sector communication in efforts to improve the health of our communities.
But we've also actually worked with local, organizations. Summit Academy is one, where they actually work to hire minorities and train them and then bring them into our workforce. And so we've been partnering with them. We also work with a Step Up program through Achieve. And then we work with hiring minorities, inner city youth to come into our workplace and for summer help, actually.
We also initiated a police cadet program, and that program is in partnership with Hennepin County, where we're able to get diverse candidates from diverse backgrounds to come on in and spend 2 years at our department. While they're here, they typically work around 20 hours a week as a cadet, kind of learning the job, learning what law enforcement all is about, and the benefit to them is they get 2 years of their college paid for through this grant.
We have not arrived, and I think a lot of employers have not arrived, but I think we need to develop almost like a workforce of people that can actually help us to bridge the gap into the immigrant community.
The integration process doesn't end with outreach. Community within a business is just as important as it is outside a business.
There's a lot of reasons why we make the effort to have an inclusive environment, and that is, when you have a variety of opinions and ideas, that's reflective in decisions that are made. It helps you with identifying solutions to business problems, and it also just helps overall the perception from the community and that we're actually being reflective of our community makeup.
It is very, very important, as a public employer, you have to have a sample of representation of your community on your staff. Let us say, like Target. You see Target here on Single Creek. You see an integrated population going there to shop. You cannot just hire all Caucasians. You have to integrate with Mexicans, Africans, so that people can feel a sense of belonging. You don't have to bring a racial quota into the system, but at least a representation of your community.
You have to take it slow and make sure that you're doing it right. And it is about educating, it's about communicating, it's sharing differences, it's having those conversations both with your staff and with people coming in.
Cultural communication is very important from the employer side too, because each culture brings different values and it's expressed in different ways. So for mainstream people, it's it's important that when you are employing minorities, you should value their contribution, but their cultural traits too.
What I found in my time as a police officer is a lot of misunderstandings or a lot of difficulty is about communication. And it's sometimes that simple communication piece that's missing that can really get you to that next level.
Some of the things that employers should consider when trying to make people feel comfortable in their environment is, number one, there has to be training internally with our own staff in teaching them how to embrace differences. You know, when people have similarities, that's what starts the basis of any relationship, is when you have something in common with people, that starts that basis, that foundation. But then when you have the differences, that's when you can really learn to appreciate one another and the difference that we share in opinions and thoughts and ideas. And it really helps us all to actually learn and stretch us and help us to grow and become stronger.
Maybe that's part of that initial process coming into an agency. I think that's very, very important when you're integrating new Americans into your workforce, if you will.
That fear of, your boss expecting too much of you, and if you make one mistake, then consider not, fear is something that we need to work on both sides. And for the employer, you need to give our people the opportunity to apply themselves.
And work with them, retain them. They are not going to perform at your expectation, but if you bring them, make provision and understanding for their adjustment. Mm-hmm. It's a new working environment. They have to adjust. They have to interact with the rest of their co-workers. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the social things you have to work on.
I think basically it comes down to this. Everybody just wants a chance to be able to contribute, to make a difference in their employment, to have their voice heard, to be a part of something greater, and to be respected, treated fairly, and everybody deserves to have that opportunity.
In addition, employers can also foster a sense of belonging by utilizing ride-sharing programs for employees lacking transportation, tuition incentive programs, and even suggestion boxes. Integration is also a two-way street. There are also solutions that immigrants can follow in order to have better success finding and maintaining employment.
It's like a battleground. When you migrate to any culture, you have to be determined, you have to believe in hard work. You don't have to easily give up. Keep trying, you have to persevere. You have to keep learning, don't shut yourself up. Make yourself available for new changes.
Working hard and believing that you'll get there, try to make connection with people. If there are meetings about foreigners or immigrants getting together to have discussion, go to that.
Have confidence in your work, what you are doing, and in your credential.
The way they can be successful is to make sure that they tell people who they are. For many of us in our countries, culturally, it's difficult for us to sell ourselves.
In Indian culture, we don't toot our own horns. So I was very naive about that.
It's important to praise yourself. It's not being vain or proud. It's a matter of the U.S. culture. Nobody will know who you are except you tell them who you are.
You have to be aware of your environment, what's going on. You should be very observant. And if need to challenge, I would suggest that you should challenge writing letters.
They have to be flexible, to integrate, not to keep themselves reserved. They have to participate in all other activities that will make them accessible to what facilities are available. The employer is not going to come to you at all times. What do you want? You, the employee, you have to ask your immediate supervisor.
I would recommend that at least twice a year they should sit with their supervisor and check with them where they stand, so that mutual communication will help each other, and especially employees.
Because if they lay you off, it's a shame. It's an individual shame. It's also a shame to the community, because your performance is going to open or hinder the process for other incoming people. That is why you have to give it your all.
When immigrants come to this country, they should seek out mentors, and mentors are available. So that way they would learn from mentors how to be productive in work environment.
And don't take things very personal because I'm this, because I'm black, that's why they are treating me. No. Look at things objectively. What did I do? Why are they taking these corrective actions? Ask yourself, don't just be bashful. Look at conditions on your end.
Find an organization where you can evaluate your qualification and be active in organization. So that way it would be easy for them to join mainstream and learn their way of working in this country.
People in the community should also reach out and ask what is in their community. As much as we're reaching out to them, they also should take the initiative to reach out and ask what's in my community. And if they did that, then we also can provide the resources. And one thing we would do is to listen to them. I think that's how we can go about doing it.